Hello, this is Norfolk Geeks. This is the first tutorial in developing iOS applications, and this is the basic Hello World application. During this, we will also take you through some of the basics of Xcode. Right, first, we'll start by opening up Xcode 5, and you want to create a new project. Now we're looking at a single view application. Next, and we'll call it Hello World. We'll leave it as an iPhone application with no class prefix. Next, I'll ask you where to put it. Let's put it in the tutorials folder. Create. And I go Hello World. Little provisioning profile issue. Let's fix that. Perfect. Right. This is just main screen on some of the settings about the app. We'll go into these in more detail in the future. What's important is what's over here on the left. We've got the app delegates, main storyboard, and the view controllers. The app delegates needed to get the application running and to pass everything over to the storyboard, so we won't worry about that. So we're mainly interested in the storyboard and the main view controller. So let's have a look at the storyboard. Now what you notice is this looks like an iOS application or a screen. That's because it is pretty much. Storyboard allows you to create things as you go along. What we will do is if you look down in the bottom right hand corner, there's loads of different UI elements that can be added, but for this tutorial we're just going to add a UI label, which we'll put up in the middle here. We'll make it wide, it's got not to fit in, make it big. What you'll notice over on the right here is the information about the label. So we've got what the text is, format, size, everything like that. So what we'll do is we'll just align it to the center and we'll give it 2 lines. Make sure there's enough space. Next we want a text field. So we've got a text field down here. All you do is click and drag. Put it in the middle. Let's make it a bit bigger. So, and then we need a button. Again, click and drag. You can use the guides to make sure you're in the middle. Which with this one I'm not. There you go. So they're now on alignment. If you click on the button, again we've got the same list of properties of what you can do to it, type of button, everything like that, and what it's called. So what we're going to put on there is Hello World. Now what you'll need to do is just make the button a bit bigger because it's not going to display otherwise. So there we go. So this is the basics of the application. So you've got a label which will display information, you've got a text field where you can enter information, and you've got a Hello World button which you can press. Now the application as it stands doesn't do anything. If you run this in the simulator or on your phone, you will end up with this screen and nothing will happen. You click on Hello World, it doesn't do anything. That's because at the moment the UI elements on the view controller aren't connected to the class behind. Now, every view controller needs to have a view controller class behind it. If you click on the actual view controller, so the whole thing goes blue, and you then go to the icon that looks a little bit like a business card called the Identity Inspector, you'll see the class. In this case, the class is view controller. Now, if you look over on the left in the browser, you'll see view controller H, view controller M. These two together control this view controller and allow it to show the information and to do things. So what we need to do is connect the two up. So what we'll do is we'll get rid of that. Now if you click on view controller H on the left, you'll see this is the class and that's all it's got in it at the moment. If you then go to the right up the top, there's a little one called show this as an editor. It looks like a bit like a butler. If you click on that, it'll show you split views. So at the moment we've got view controller H and view controller M. What we want to do is click on here, go manual, Hello World, storyboard, storyboard base. So what I'll do is it'll bring in the image. So what we can then do is start tying these items together. Now the label, this one here, and the text field are outlets. So information can go in and out of them, but they don't actually do anything in the sense of an action or anything like that. Whereas the button is an action. So what we need to do is, if you click on the label, hold Control and drag over to there, it will pop up a little box to say the outlet. That way they're joining them together. So you now need to give it a name. So we'll give it a name of message label. We use camel case, which is small letters to start with and then capitals at the beginning of every word after that, just because it makes it easier to read. So once you type that in, enter, and it will create a property for this, an IB outlet, UI label, message label. Now we need to do the same with the text field, so we control drag, and we're going to call this name. Same thing, hit connect, it will create a property, an outlet again as a name. Now for the button we need an action. Now properties are set up in the H1, so the view controller H, but actions are set up in the M. So if you go into M, you'll see here is the start of some methods that are used to load the view, and you'll notice that it's importing view controller H. So those properties that you've just put in view controller H can be accessed through view controller M because of the import. So what we do is same as before, we control drag. Again, it comes up with action. So we want to call this hello world. Oh, no. Now you notice this has created a new method down here in the curly braces, and if you hover over the little black dot, you'll see it's attached to there, so you know where it's coming from. So that is the view controller and the view connected. So now you can use the code, the class, to make changes to what you see on screen for those elements. So we'll just switch back to normal code view, get rid of that. So what we want to do is we want the hello world to do something. We don't want to just display hello world on its own. So we've got a text field where you can enter your name. We've got a label which will display what we put in there, and we've got a button that will say hello world and that will do those things. So inside the button, so what we want is when we click the button, we want the label to change to say our name. So what we need to do is we need to join the files together. So let me explain this. Because we're inside a class, everything declared in H appears in M. If you want to refer to a property that is in the class, you use the term self. Now Xcode is very clever. It will bring up and show you predictions of what it thinks you're looking for. Most of the time it's correct. It does get a little bit wrong sometimes. So we'll look at this for self. So then we're looking at the name field. So if we click name, there we go, UI text field name. And then we're looking for the text that's within that field, which is an NS string. So that is the information that we type in is in that property there. Now what we need to do is store it in something so that we can use it. So what we can do is we can create an NS string. An NS string is a bog standard string. It's letters, numbers, things like that, that you want to be displayed as text rather than like numbers that you want to be able to do calculations on. There are loads of functions and methods and everything underneath NSString, and if you go and look on Apple's website you'll see all the information about what the different ones are. We're just going to look at instantiating a class of NSString and then using one of the class methods. So what we do is we call it an NSString. Now for Objective-C we look very heavily for pointers. So to create a pointer you use an asterisk. So what this does is rather than creating just the class, it creates a pointer in the memory to that class that you have created. So in this case we're going to call this your name, camel case, your name, I'm going to say equals self.text, and at the end you have to put a colon. So what we've done here is we've created a new string, or a new class NSString, with a pointer to your name. So that now becomes a storage vessel in a sense. That's where you can store information. So what you've then done is said, right, we want that storage point to hold the text in self.name text. So what we type into the text field goes into your name. So then we want to be able to put that information out to the label so that people can read it. So we first need to get the label. So again, so we've got message label. You'll see it's at the top. And as before, we want the text within it. So there we are, an NS string. Now, what we want to do, so we've got, that's where we want to go to. We want to put the information into there, but we've got our name. We also want to put hello world. So what we need to do is join two strings together. Now, NS string does some class methods. So if we go NS string again, Some class methods that allow you to do this, the one we'll be using is string with format. You'll see I use it quite regularly, it pops up straight away. So what this means is that you can join strings together, multiple different strings, it doesn't matter. As long as they're all NS strings, you can do it. You can add in integers, floats, things like that, but we'll leave it just at the moment as strings. So what we need to do is we need to create the base string first. So we create an NS string, which is this. So we're going to put in here, hello world, my name is. So that's what we want the text to be, but we then want to be able to add on to the end of that your name. So what we can use, the string with format gives you the option to add in bits to it in specific places from other pointers. So if you use the %at, that tells it that it's a string you want to add in, and it tells you where you want the string to do it, because that's the first time it appears, so the first variable will be put in there. So then we put a comma, and we give it the first variable, which is your name. Now because we are within the method, we're not using a global variable, we just use your name. We don't use self because there is no self, because there's no global, there's no property within this class called your name. It is just within this method. So we use your name, and there we go, it pops up, and then close the braces, so that shows that that method, that's everything part of that, and then a colon at the end. So now what we've done is we've taken your name, put it into a container called your name. We've then taken your name and added it to this. So in theory we should end up with hello world, my name is, and then whatever you put in your name. But that will only happen when we click the button. Now what we want to do is be able to tell people that they need to do something in the first place. So what we can do is we can go up to the view did load. View did load is where lots of things happen, it's where you'll do a lot of your stuff. So when the class is first set up and the view is first set up, you'll do a lot of things of loading data or adding, adjusting displays, things like that will all happen in the view did load. It's like one of the key places to start with. So what we'll do is we'll go up to view did load. Now we know we've got self message labeled text because it's in the H file, because it's a property, we can access it from multiple methods, it doesn't matter. So we go self.messageLabel.text, and then we want to put something in there. Now because we're just going to type the text, we can do away with the NS string, string with format, all that. We can just go straight for a string. So create string, we're putting the @ symbol at the front, tells the compiler and the application that this is a string, and that's what it should be treated as. So we're just going to put please enter your name. And again, colon at the end to finish it off. Now you'll notice up in the top right hand corner, no issues, so the application should run. So what we'll do is we'll switch to the storyboard. So what we need to do is make sure that everything will work. So if we just move this up a little bit, and then move the button up, there we go. Let's just scooch everything up a little bit. Right, let's run it now and see if it works. So it's compiling, build succeeded, up pops simulator. Please enter your name. So click on here, Norfolk Geeks, click Hello World. Hello World, my name is Norfolk Geeks. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. There will be more coming soon. Thank you very much.